Good morning, everyone. Boy, is it fun to be here. You know, when you work with a fantastic group of people like the Sonoma Biochar Initiative and their cohorts in getting a conference like this organized, and I must say, working with them, my lifting was very light by comparison to all that they did. So it's really fun to see what comes out of their creativity and hard work, and so far I'm really impressed. I'm also having a great deal of difficulty seeing you all, so if I'm looking blank and a little bit perplexed, that could be why. Or it could just be my normal condition. Anyhow, I wanted to again thank the organizers, the fantastic sponsors. We had a lot of folks come forward this year, and also you, the attendees and supporters of not only these conferences, but of biochar in general. Also extending a special welcome to our guests, our international guests, International Biochar Initiative, and also we have 12 U.S. chapters now. And that's really exciting and fun to watch them grow. Also, pay attention because we have a new association that is testing the waters to see if it's a viable idea, and that is the Biochar Association, which will be a trade association, specifically to help business and commercialization. And also, sadly, Anne Fleischle, who many of you know that name, who's our editor of the U.S. Biochar newsletter, could not be here at the last minute. And so if you have feature stories, ideas, news flashes, things that you want to contribute, please let me know, and I'll see that Anne gets those so we can put together a dynamite edition of the newsletter covering this conference. So, I get to talk this morning, and that's pretty exciting for me, especially when I get to talk about biochar. And I'm going to be speaking more in generalities, but trying to underscore the sense of urgency I think that we all feel about bringing solutions to the fore, and particularly biochar. And so I believe that we need biochar now more than ever. You know, I'm very delighted that we are launching biochar so appropriately, you know, in a stepwise fashion, emphasizing sustainability, emphasizing research, field trials, practical applications, and also the great work that's been done by IBI and friends and supporters in the characterization efforts. The next steps that IBI and USBI are going to be taking is looking at sustainability. And that's sustainability in the process and the production of biochar, and also in the sustainable use of the feedstocks and biomass. So, we face a quadruplex of crises. And the interesting thing is these aren't predictions any longer. We are in the middle of them. We have an incredible population boom with increasing demands for energy and food. We have the and this is happening just when conventional cheap energy is becoming more and more difficult to find. And we have climate change. I hesitate to even call it change now. Climate weirding, climate derangement, weather perturbations that are just making it really difficult to comprehend how to even adapt to what's going on. And then, meanwhile, countries and municipalities are running out of money. And that is reducing our resilience to cope with all of these changes that are coming at us. And also these changes and crises interact with each other and exacerbate the situation. And then if that wasn't bad enough, we have this focus on growth as the mandatory model for getting ourselves out of these crises. But that's essentially defying the law of finite systems, and we live in a finite system. So, we have the lithosphere, the biosphere, and the atmosphere all under attack simultaneously, with toxins, acidification, greenhouse gases, accumulation of other wastes, the effects of mining, excessive use of fossil fuels, both in its procurement and its combustion. And these in turn affect the human sphere. We have lower productivity, so therefore less availability of food, and that food is less equitably distributed than it needs to be. Well, a loss of croplands and forests to development and depletion, and that growth imperative. When we lack sustainable energy alternatives. Oh, and very importantly, that centralized corporate models that seem to be the paradigm that our governments are following all tend to focus or oppose, either actively or inactively, but definitely oppose the decentralized, distributed economic opportunities that could be available to implement some solutions. And all of these violate the fundamental principles of sustainability. The natural step framework from which this comes makes it very clear that there's 4 basic principles that cannot be violated. You cannot keep bringing things out of the lithosphere, that is the Earth's crust, and releasing them into the biosphere and the atmosphere faster than nature can ameliorate or neutralize those effects. Likewise, you cannot keep producing chemicals and flinging them out into the atmosphere, biosphere, and lithosphere in a manner faster than nature can take care of them. We need to protect and expand our productive surfaces instead of continuing to watch them shrink, and resources and food in particular needs to be equitably distributed. We've been violating every one of those principles, but I don't think, never before have we been overwhelming all of life's systems simultaneously across the planet and by our own hands. Wait and see is not an option. You wouldn't be here if that thought hadn't at least crossed your mind. So, enter biochar. Biochar is not the only solution. It is not snake oil, although we have been accused of that. But it is really one brilliant solution because it has a multitude of benefits that can occur simultaneously, or you can focus on particular benefits one at a time. So, the theoretical origins of biochar, this is made up by me. I am taking full credit or blame for it. But in thinking about how biochar became established in the Amazon and other places, one would think that initially people simply observed that plant growth was better in areas where there was natural concentrations of charcoal. And then by observing that, then they began to copy it using biomimicry. And so they were just repeating and enhancing what nature was perhaps already doing. And if they were implementing this then methodically across their communities, and then it was enhancing productivity and therefore enhancing food, allowing them to have robust, centralized communities. And so biochar became part of the commons, part of a common practice, a common knowledge base, and it spread geographically and intellectually. Excuse me. So, as part of the commons, biochar is contributing and supporting ecosystem services. It's effective in remediation and reclamation, i.e. helping nature do the things that it can and will do given the appropriate amount of time. And it can also ameliorate some of the impacts of climate change, and it can enhance human conditions. So I'd like to spend a little more time looking at, in detail, at things you perhaps already know, but it's so much fun and so rewarding, I think, to go back over this and remind ourselves of just how amazing biochar can be. So in helping ecosystem services, ecosystem services are listed on the left and biochar services on the right. You can see how the two complement each other. Biochar services specifically encourage plant growth and therefore increasing the uptake of CO2 and the release of oxygen. And biochar can absorb toxins, helping in that remediation, and it filters water. In the soil and the habitat arena, the ecosystem services that nature provides are truly abundant. But biochar can help that by amending soils, by sequestering carbon, by attracting and holding water and nutrients, reducing greenhouse gas off-gassing, and supporting microbes and fungi. And then nature has some special tricks. Pollination for one, decomposition and recycling of waste, and also conversion of energy from sun to matter, the only methodology we have of converting energy to matter. So biochar helps that by doing its own kind of recycling, the thermal conversion of waste, and also releasing the energy that's entrained in that matter back, of making it available for human use. And then what does biochar do in terms of human services? Well, it's pretty exciting because it does quite a bit for us humans. One of the wonderful things about biochar is it's non-discriminatory. You don't have to be a certain class of person, you don't have to have a certain amount of money, you don't have to be in a certain location. Producers and users alike, non-discriminated. It's scalable, it's affordable. The feedstocks are very diverse. Probably one of the only places you can't do biochar is where there are no feedstocks. And the best results and the best life cycle assessments come at the local level. So biochar blends really well with the localization movement, which is extremely important to the resiliency of communities. And the rewards come in at different times. It can be immediate with the release of heat and energy, short term with the enhancement of soils, and then also long term. You know, we're still seeing the productivity gains in the Amazon and other places where biochar has been employed. And then there are community benefits. The food security through the improved soils, and food security is going to be the issue of this decade, I think. Diverse local entrepreneurial small business opportunities, upcycling waste to a useful product, and working specifically on your local environment and economy. People can design and build their own equipment. And marketing and technology, and get involved in the marketing and technology of that product, again, either at a local or a broader level. So I feel we need to apply biochar as a sustainable solution now, while we're continuing to research and answer those questions and make sure that we are doing the correct thing every step of the way. So, thank you for caring. Thank you for being here.